What's going on, people? It's your boy Big Uggs, and welcome back to the Voice of the Tune. Right, so Marc Guehi. As we know, Newcastle United have had a third offer rejected from Crystal Palace for centre back Marc Guehi. We've identified him as our main transfer target of the summer, um, which for me is a surprise because he has such a good Euros. You would have thought off the back of that, some of the other bigger clubs, for example, Liverpool, who have had some injury problems in defence. They've obviously released Matip, Konate can't really stay fit. That's leaving Jarrod Quansah probably still learning his game. So you would have thought naturally Marc Guehi could have gone in there and slotted in that left side of centre back to partner Van Dijk, for example, right? But no, it's Newcastle United who have come in for him, and it's nice. It's flattering that we can attract England internationals because Marc Guehi had a superb summer. Like, he was probably one of two of England's best players. Probably him and Saka, you say, the most consistent throughout the game. So, and he's somebody that fits the profile. He fits the bill. He's a young English defender. He's good on the ball. He breaks the lines with his passing. He's very quick. He's athletic. He's good in the air. He wins the ball up the pitch. He wins it early. That's probably Eddie Howe's ideal defender, because that's how, for the last couple of seasons, I've seen us defend. We don't give attackers time on the ball to turn. We're straight into them, and we saw Marc Guehi do that a lot for England over the Euros. So he's probably the ideal defender. But the thing about this is, obviously, when you have an England international and you're selling to another English club, teams would add on attacks, especially if they've had such a good summer. So Crystal Palace, being in the strongest position they're in, they've set a price tag of 65 million for Marc Guehi. Is Marc Guehi worth 65 million? It's debatable. But obviously, Palace being in such a good position, they don't need to sell. Marc Guehi isn't the sort of character to sort of make a statement or to put in a transfer request or etc. He's just gonna get on with his business, even though we know that he wants to move. He's not gonna kick up a fuss. So Palace are in a strong position, given the fact that he had such a good summer, and so they know that if somebody wants to buy him, it's going to be at their price, right? And usually, I would always say to clubs, it's always good to negotiate. Always try and test the waters. Of course, you have to, because you don't really want to go in and start off high and give somebody more, or give a club more than they should for a player. But I believe this situation is kind of different. And why I think it's different is because, like I keep saying, the ball is in Palace's court. The owner has said it very clearly from the beginning. He said 65 million is what I am, going to accept. And he's made us a sort of comment on Marc Guehi, probably of recent times, to say this, right? Nobody has got to the valuation yet. If you want a superstar player, you need to pay superstar money. We would love to keep him. If someone else wants to have him, then they'll need to make it very difficult for us. He's a generational talent. So that's the words of Steve Parish, the Crystal Palace owner. Obviously he's using describing words to describe Marc Guehi so that obviously the price can justify, or the price that he's asking for can be justified. And obviously I don't believe Marc Guehi is a superstar player, but obviously he's a very good player, and he'll be a very good addition to the squad. So obviously, what we've done now is we have started off quite low, and we've had the first bid rejected. We've gone in for a second bid of 50 million, even though we know that Palace have said, listen, 65 million, because this guy has had a great summer and he's England international, so it's on our terms. And we've then put in a third bid. We've offered 55 with potential add-ons to be 60 million, hoping that Palace were going to compromise. And I thought they were going to compromise too, but in hindsight, they were never going to, because they don't need to sell. Like I keep saying, they're in a strong position. So Now we're in a position where, cool, do we now go back for a fourth offer? Yeah. Do we go back in there and give Palace what they want, or give Palace what they've been asking for from the inception, or do we walk away? And my point is this, yeah. I would have preferred us to be direct, right? And because and I wouldn't always encourage this, because like I said before, it's always good to negotiate and, probably put in clauses and add-ons and bonuses, etc., to probably rise up the price. But on this occasion, because they're in such a strong position not to sell Marc Guehi, right? It's either you pay the money or you don't, right? You don't go three bids in, and then in the fourth bid, give them what they want. Because now what that does for us in the future, if we do this now, in the future, is when we now come to negotiate with other teams, teams will now look at Newcastle and say, previously, with Marc Guehi, you started off low, but eventually you gave Crystal Palace what they wanted. So if we now try to negotiate with teams, they would hold out and they will look at us and say, do you know what? Newcastle will eventually give us what we want. So that would probably make it harder for us to sign potential players. That would probably increase the risk of us paying extra tax on players, because clubs will look at us and say, look at our approach with Marc Guehi and say, do you know what? Yeah, these guys will get there anyways. They're just trying to test the water. So for me, it's either you pay what they want or you don't. Literally, in this occasion, because Palace are in such a good position with Marc Guehi. In other situations, I would always encourage, negotiate. But in this one specifically, and I must make that clear, I feel like we've kind of embarrassed ourselves. And because of that, I would want us to walk away from the deal, because it will save us having the issues that I mentioned in future transfers. And we've got to learn from our mistakes. Don't risk becoming a Man United where you now are known for, let's say, paying X amount for players. And I know it sounds like a contradiction because I'm saying to give Palace what they want, but it's not, because at the end of the day, if we pay them the 65 million from the inception, we wouldn't have made it to be look silly. But it's different from starting off low, going higher, and then just thinking, you know what, then just paying them. I'd rather pay them what they want or walk away. And I'd rather be a club that walks away, yeah, than a club that's known for starting off low and then eventually getting there. So that's what I'm trying to say here. So that's why I say we've kind of embarrassed ourselves, but you can see the club's taken a different approach, because in previous years, when we want a player, we go out there and we get that guy, Isak, bang, out of nowhere. Tonali, bang, out of nowhere. We paid what the club was asking for because we knew that this club isn't going to budge, for example, right? And Palace is the same. Palace is the same. Don't waste anybody's time. So, Marc Guehi, who knows what the club's going to do? There's 3 days left to the first game of the season, and we're still yet to sign that marquee signing. Obviously, we signed Lord Kelly, Willie Ursula from Sheffield United for 10 million with 5 million add-on. So it's like we've added to the depth, but we need, like I always say, the best way to improve your squad depth is by improving your first 11, because then you're adding players who's good enough to start. And Marc Guehi definitely gets into this team at the minute because with Botman injured, he walks into that left side centre back position. So don't get me wrong, I would love for us to sign Marc Guehi, but I'm thinking from a perspective of the club. I don't want us now to set ourselves that deadly precedent of where we're sort of known as a team who starts off low, but eventually we pay the club what they want. It's either you pay them from the inception or you don't, literally, or you don't. So that's why I say we've sort of embarrassed ourselves, because now it's interesting to see now what we do next, because there are other options. I would encourage us to look at other options, because, for example, Chelsea, our Saudi neighbours, for example, like they have 2 players that we could potentially get for the price of Marc Guehi in Chalobah I know he's not the same sort of caliber, and he doesn't have the same buzz around his name as Marc Guehi does. But he's also a young centre back who can play on the left hand side, and we can also bring in Conor Gallagher, who perfectly suits Eddie Howe's system. I'm not the biggest fan of Gallagher, but he's an England international. We know how much Chelsea are willing to accept because they accepted a deal from Atletico for 38 million, albeit there was a player going another way. But you can sort of gauge that both players will cost you around 60 million. Do you get me? So, or 65 million. With 20 million for Chalobah, let's say 35, 38 for Gallagher. And then possibly we can look to getting a right winger. So those are the three areas: centre back, centre mid, and right winger. I would love to see. But on this with Marc Guehi saga, which continues, I believe we should now walk away. And us putting in a fourth offer is dangerous, and we don't want to set that standard of being a club that starts low and goes in eventually to give the club what it wants. So yeah, so I just thought I'd come on there and say that because I don't think many fans are thinking like me. I think everyone wants us to just pay the money, and I agree, but we should have done that from the inception. So yeah, so let me know your thoughts on this, man. Some may call me stupid, some may call me confusing because I'm saying two things at the same time, but I'm not. If you really understand what I'm trying to say, and yeah, just let me know your thoughts on how do you feel like we've dealt with this Marc Guehi situation. Should we go in for a fourth offer? Should we now pay that 65 million now, or should you have just paid it from the inception because we knew Palace weren't going to budge? Let me know. Thanks for watching. It's your boy Big Uggs. Make sure to like, to comment, and to subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. I'm out.